It is Wednesday night again, and this is the Wednesday night mouse party. I am DM Foss, and tonight we've got G23. How's it going, G23?
Going pretty good. Thanks for the invite.
And Gun Websites. How you doing?
Fair to Midland. Thanks for hosting.
Well, that's good. Let me get the banner going. Just get the right one. There we go. At the bottom of the screen, there's an email address and a link. You can send in suggestions, pictures within reason, comments, anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out. You can let me know. And not a lot of people out there right now, but DJ was out there earlier having a big wee. X Adam 1, and then Gun Websites and G23. So let me show this. I was meaning to do this for a while. This is share screen. I think I have to do the window. I meant to show this for Rob D. My wife wanted a flower bed, so while I've been on vacation, I did this. It's not real big. It's only about 3 feet deep by about 6 feet wide. But I was going to show Rob and then show him that it is level. All right. Mike McLuhan's out there. Good evening. There's this week's poll is pinned to the top of the chat. So if you haven't voted yet in this week's poll, head over there, and we'll take a look at it here in just a second. Let me get there. There we go. So this week's poll was, how risk averse are you? Which one would cover you best? Fortune favors the bold. There are old pilots and bold pilots, but very few old, bold pilots. Or drinking and yelling while shirtless. Let's go! There were 43 votes so far, and there are old pilots and bold pilots, but very few old, bold pilots at 44%. And then Fortune favors the bold at 42%. So pretty close. Then 14 are drinking shirtless. I kind of fit in on the more conservative one, the old pilots and bold pilots. Kind of on the risk and reward, if the risk is high, I don't really care what the reward is. Like if I lend something out, I only lend out something I'm willing to lose. So if somebody asks, needs to borrow money, I'll lend them up to whatever I'm willing to lose. What about you guys?
Well, I need to borrow some money if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm asking more. Are you willing to take the big risks?
As long as it's calculated, like I don't have a problem with taking risks as long as it's not risks for risk's sake or just wild gambles. But if there's a payoff that's worth the risk, or if there's a potential gain that's worth the gamble or whatever, then yeah, I'm all about taking risks, especially when you've got the time or the health or the stamina or the resources to be able, like you say, when you're talking about lending money, like if you've got the ability to put something on the line, then yeah, why not? Otherwise, I don't like the idea of being old and thinking about what I could have done.
So it depends on the situation, but like lending money is kind of like what you were saying. I'm not willing. I'm not going to lend money that I'm not willing to just give to somebody. Because when it's family or friend, are you really truly willing to lose your relationship over $5, you know, or $20, whatever?
Yeah, but sometimes it's worth it. I think when you get old enough, I think you get, yeah, definitely. Like if I've got somebody who's quote unquote a friend, but they're willing to drop all that over $5, then I was under a misunderstanding. We're not friends; we're just acquaintances, and $5 is more important to them than a relationship. So you know what I mean? Like sometimes discovering that can be worth it. Not always with money, depending on if you got a pile of money, money's not the big deal. Then maybe it's money for you, but for me, it would be time or that kind of stuff. Like if I waste a bunch of time with somebody and it turns out that they were fair weather or whatever, that's more frustrating.
Yeah, because like I'm not a big gambler. The couple times I've been down to Reno, I would take a set amount, usually not very much, but whatever amount I was willing to risk losing, and then gamble with that. If I made back the amount that I took, I would put that away, so I was guaranteed to go home even. And then, say I doubled it, then I would just play with, that doubled amount. So if I lost that, I'm still going home even. And then usually would end up just sitting at the video poker, because you can nurse like $5 on the video poker for an hour and get free drinks.
Oh yeah, back in the day, we'd go to concerts and just hang out in Vegas, like take a $45 flight up to Vegas back in the old days, because it was not that much to go up to Vegas on a round trip ticket. It was like $50 or something, so $40. It was crazy. So you could go up there and, like you're saying, if you were just there to spend as little money as possible, but drink, then you could play nickel slots and they'd bring you beers and you could just have a great time. Every once in a while playing, but just basically kind of just being in Vegas and whatever, knowing you're about to go home in a couple hours. But if I was actually trying, like a couple of times we'd go to Vegas and we'd practice playing craps. Craps is our game. We'd practice some strategy on craps, like some way of playing. There's lots of different methods of playing craps. We'd practice something over and over with candy or with just, chips at home. And then until we thought we had it all figured out. And then we go there and do some kind of a strategy like what you're talking about. I mean, we never figured it out, or I know people that can play poker and come home with money, like they can make money in Vegas playing poker, but I'm not, I can't do that. So,
Yeah, I
so
can't.
sometimes we would play, but I never would play slot machines. I mean, I'll throw $1 in a slot machine, but my strategy is to play the ones closest to the bathrooms, closest to the buffet, closest to the cashier, thinking that the ones that are on the end of the rows closest to these places are going to pay off a little bit better than the ones that aren't. But essentially just play the odds, throw some money in, a couple of bucks, whatever, change or something into one of those machines. But I've never really, except for when I'm trying to drink for free or whatever, I don't really play the slots. I think that's too much like just plain gambling. I try to play a game where either blackjack or something where I think I have some ability to have some influence in the game, like some kind of strategy, some kind of,
Yeah.
like blackjack. I think you can feel like, okay, I can play blackjack cautiously and not lose a bunch of money for sure, and probably maybe win some money. Or you can kind of lean into blackjack and get kind of risky, or like, do some things that are a little more risky and potentially win some money. I think you can have some fun with those I have more fun with those kind of games.
X Adam One said I used a $20 and let it all on roulette. Doubled my money, bet again, then again. Quickly made over $800 in minutes. Couldn't do it to double that. Got worried losing the cash and walked away. That's what I used to play, was roulette, which I know it's not your best odds, but I figured out on a single zero table, because we would go to the Pepper Mill in Reno. And they had a single zero table. Most roulette tables have a zero
And
and
that
a
would
double
be
zero.
the best odds in all gambling, right? Is a single zero roulette table because it's like the most even, or 55% to the
Yeah.
house or something only. Like it's the best odds, I think.
And then figured out, I hate to use strategy, but kind of a strategy which gave you the best odds to play roulette. The only problem is when you win, basically you're putting out chips on every row except one. So when you lose a lot. When you win, you only win like one chip. But on that table, it's your best odds of winning. So I did okay. Like I said, I was able to double what I had, and then I would just from there waste. I don't want to say waste, but play whatever I wanted to play, and it's very slow and takes a lot of time. And then if you get 2-3 losses in a row, you're losing a lot, and then takes a long time to rebuild that. But it was interesting to do. I haven't. That was that was before I met my wife, so at least 25 years ago, probably a little more. Is when I lived in Eastern Washington, it was a 12-hour drive from Pullman, Washington to Reno. So a bunch of us would jump in a car and drive down there.
Now, what about reservations? You got reservations, right? Like I'm in Tucson. I've got the Tohoto O'odham. We've got 2 different reservations here. If I drove up to Phoenix, that's only an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I could go to probably 3 different reservations and gamble.
Yeah, there's a
That are
bunch.
way closer than Phoenix or Vegas.
There's a bunch, and some of them are bankrolled by the big casinos. They would front the money for the buildings and stuff, and didn't never won anytime we went to the reservation casinos. Played, I think I only ever played blackjack, but just kind of play for a while, but end up losing.
Do you ever play cards or money or gamble or whatever with just regular people instead of going to like a casino? Just go to a party game.
Yeah, just kind of with friends, and nothing serious, just playing for change, basically.
We've got a couple of the, what do they call them, the felts to do craps, like the full size felts, and then some nice chips and stuff. So we just play for chips. We don't have any money to, we don't want to get in fights and stuff by playing for money, but we will play craps if we're going to do anything, just to feel like we're practicing for if we ever go to Vegas or whatever. I don't know. Have you played craps ever? There's like so many ways to play craps. I just really, really like that game. And I've walked up to just playing craps. I mean, this happens with blackjack too, and I'm sure it happens with roulette and other things. But I've been sitting there witnessing people walk up with usually like $500 in chips or something, like some, $100 chips or whatever they're coming up with. And they start playing. And if they know how to play craps well, they can get a run and just walk away with a pile of money, just a pile of money. Because there's a couple of different ways to play decent odds without being crazy. And then if you have a good run where nobody craps out, you just make money on every roll. It's really neat. So I do miniature versions of that with $5 instead of $50.
Woods is out there, and 2 live moo. Wesley Foster. Good evening. Oop. Robert Moore's out there. He said, I've played $100 slots and lost a lot. I had a friend that pulled 2 turns on a slot at the gas station and won $13,000.
Damn. I think the most I've ever won is maybe 1,000 or 700 or something like that on any kind of gambling ever. Like I've never made a lot of money.
There's when I worked at the shipyard, there was a guy I worked with that he went to Vegas with his wife, and there was one of the slot machines you could win a Harley, and she ended up winning. I swear it was had to be at least 10,000, 15,000, something like that. And he told her, "Keep playing. I want that Harley."
Cool. She just want to put it all back into it. You mean?
I don't know if they did or not.
Okay.
I would
If
think
you
he
won,
was.
if you won 15,000 with the roll of a, with the pull of a stick on a jackpot, what do they call that thing? On a
Yeah, on a jackpot.
yeah, on one of those machines, would you keep playing? Put 5,000 back in the casino, or where would you break down 15 grand? Would you walk away?
I
Keep
would walk
playing?
away.
Yeah, I consider that a fucking win, right? Like you
Yeah.
didn't pay that for the vacation, and that pays for like 3 vacations or something for the whole family.
So if I won 15 grand, that would have to be after, like whatever my initial investment was. So if I put $100 in, I would take that $100 out. And then if I still won the 15 grand after that, I might gamble, 500, $1,000 out of that and see what happens. Because at the end of the day, I still know I'm walking away with, like 14 grand.
So everybody's talking about seeing people gamble. When I used to work at AOL, I would work next to people that were day trading. So we'd be working on our machines, doing our thing, but you could multitask. So people would have their day trading stuff open on one machine, and they'd be day trading, and they'd be sitting around texting each other, essentially, like, oh, you'd hear everybody go, oh, and then like, what happened? Oh, I lost $30,000. A little while later, like, oh, what happened? Oh, I just made $70,000. Like, damn it! I'm over here, like, peeking over, like, what the hell? I can't understand nothing. Just a bunch of graphs and stuff. But watching people that have like millions day trade when they're bored or whatever, that's weird. I don't know what, they must have had all different kind of strategies, but I'm sure they were up and down like $100,000 every day. But I mean, that's essentially gambling, right? Like you're just guessing what the markets are going to do or what the stocks are going to do on individual companies.
Larry Knopf is out there. Said, "I see gambling as entertainment, so I play with what I'm willing to spend. Craps and blackjack are all I play at the casino, but I play slots to use up time." Yeah, I would. If I had a big hit, I would walk away. I might go back later and play, but I wouldn't sit there and keep pumping money in. X Adam.
I mean, realistically, if I pulled a slot machine thing and won 15 grand and one pull, I'd probably peel off $1,000 and just make the rest of the trip crazy, right? Like, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to do 2,000 and make it crazy, but I'm going to be a little crazier. But I'd want to go home with as much of that as possible, pay a bunch of bills or whatever, be practical with it.
X Adam said, I drove to the Grand Canyon. I went to the Four Corners and ended up in a casino in Utah. Beginner's luck. I won $600, and it covered pretty much my room and gas that I had used. That's pretty cool. And Robert Moore said, if I won 10K, I'd go out and buy a ton of parts for my turbo car.
What kind of turbo car?
Mach 5.
I mean, there's so many different vehicles out there that are turboed from factory, or then, depending on if you do drag racing and stuff like that, throwing turbos on your dragster,
Speaking of dragsters, I don't know why I've been seeing a bunch of Ford Ranger dragster videos on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody must be watching those. Like, are Ford Rangers good for drag racing or something?
I just saw one. Might have been yesterday. That was the first one that I saw. Because it used to be like the Chevy Loves, because you could do like a 350 conversion on the Chevy Loves and stuff. But
You want no weight in the back? I thought you wanted all your weight in the back for a dragster.
Well, yeah, you need weight in the back, otherwise you won't get traction.
That's what I mean. So I wouldn't think a truck would be any good for a dragster. I mean,
Trucks
the
are
big dragsters put their engines in the back, you know.
trucks are great for drag racing, um, especially like S10s, because you put your fuel cell, your batteries back there, and everything. So you're gonna put weight directly over that rear axle.
Except once roulette winnings is how he bought his FNX 45 tactical. Robert Moore said, I call it a car. It's my 02 Chevy truck. A 4-door lifted 6.0. It's a work in progress and going for 1,000 horsepower.
Nobody needs that many doors. So since we have a pause, I have a question about tonight's bracket.
Oh no, I have to send the bracket out to be welded. There was a crack in it, so I'll have to wait till we get our bracket back.
So then my next question to him is he going to be running like twin 88 millimeter turbos, like Pro Street Supercharger in that thing?
On one of the trips to Reno, at the table there was a Chinese lady who she would put out a whole bunch of chips, and she was putting out more chips than she could win if she won. And I believe they're called croupiers, the people who work the roulette tables, mentioned that to her. Hey, you won't win as much back.
Oh, you mean like she put coins on so many numbers that she was going to lose money no matter what?
Yeah. And she got mad. It's my money. Don't tell me how to spend my money. All right. Then
I've known people that have a system for roulette, and I've watched them go up and put money on, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 numbers, and then boom, make money after like 3 rolls, and then walk away.
Yeah. It was, it was fun. It was my younger days.
My thing is, you can't really practice. I guess you could try to practice roulette, but roulette's random. Where I think there's a little more strategy to the craps, because you can flip flop. You can be the house and you can be the roller. So the roller is going to be playing against the house all the time, but everybody else who's betting can determine if they're betting with the roller or with the house. And since you can, at any time, pretty much, depending on certain things you can't, but most of the time you can kind of pull bets off or on, and then every once in a while you can just bet like the next time he's going to roll a double 6, and if that actually happens, you win like 100 to 1 or whatever. Like, it's crazy. You can like make a bunch of money just if you have a hunch, but you just get a chance to kind of flip flop and play with the odds. Like, if someone's rolled 7 times without crapping out, like, what's the odds they're going to keep doing that? So then you can flip over and try being the house for a while or something, and then have the odds of the house. Anyway, so there's like some ways I think you can strategize it. Maybe I'm crazy. Everything's the house's advantage, really.
Yeah, I think pretty much the only game that ever gave the player better odds in the house was God, what was it? You see them in Old West movies.
I thought it was blackjack. It's the only one you can really.
Well,
blackjack single deck or something is like the only thing that you can really win.
Well, your best odds are poker, because you're playing other players.
Oh yeah, because you're playing other people. Yeah,
it's Faro. That was the only game that gave the players better odds than the house, I believe.
Oh, I don't know that one. Is that one with like domino chips and shit?
No, it was with cards, but I don't know how it was played. I've seen it in Old West movies. If if you saw Tombstone with the one guy and the other guy,
Yeah.
Emil Huckleberry. When he goes into the casino and takes over that table, that's a faro table that he takes over. And X Adam was talking about his 2006 Honda. He's going to replace the upholstery, radio, speakers. Has 481,000 miles. Worried I'll do that and then it'll die right after it. That's a lot of miles.
But that's just miles on the engine. And you put a new engine in it, and it's got 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can still get them, but like the replacement engines people would get from Japan, because the Japanese don't do oil changes and all that, so you could get fairly good.
They don't do oil changes.
Now,
Oh, that's why they only run their engines for a little while?
yeah.
Well,
I thought it was some rule. I thought it was like a law that they could only run their engines till so many miles.
I don't know. I just know that they don't really do oil changes, and you don't see a lot of older cars because everybody has. If you have a car, it's a newer car.
It's easier to just buy a new car than to keep an old one up. Yeah.
I have seen, like, there was at some kid. It was at night, and a kid cruising around. It was basically a Brady mobile, their station wagon, like that, and he was kind of cruising around, digga 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 digga, I think, looking for people to play with. And Lincoln Continental, it was 70, so it was kind of the square rectangle long ones. Saw one of those at a hotel outside a hotel.
But that's like somebody owning like a DeLorean or something in the United States, or like the Ghostbuster car. Like that's just a unique, like somebody trying to own almost a parade vehicle or something, or for the movies.
And there are dealerships that'll have kind of older cars, kind of more antique cars. It'll can be like Porsches or older Japanese cars and stuff.
There are
specialty shops.
Is there vintage? Are there vintage Japanese cars in Japan then, or it's like not even a thing?
Okay. There are some. You don't really see a lot, and you don't see a lot of dented cars either.
So they're always like tits. They're always like immaculate.
Yeah, well, at least in good shape, because like the stuff you see here where it's half rusted out, they're dragging their muffler. You don't see that in Japan
because of culture, not because of laws.
Because they like shiny new things.
So, I sent you some Gorn.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I got to call it up.
You left the door open and a gizzard came in here.
Oh yeah, how you doing, gizzard? Sorry.
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I did get my laptop up and going.
Cool.
I when it kicked me out, I disconnected the battery, put it back up, and then eventually it started charging again. And then I just went ahead and replaced the battery.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
So far so good.
Cool.
Do you like to go gamble, Gary?
No, I don't really. I mean, a couple times I've been dragged into the casino with family members, usually my daughter or something like that. To me, I'll take $20 and go get nickels or pennies or something and go get on a penny slot machine or a nickel slot machine, gamble till that's gone. And that's the only, I don't have any big interest in gambling huge sums of money. It's not my thing. And really, it's not really that much fun. Hour or so, I'm ready to leave.
Have you ever won a lot or?
No, my daughter's lucky. I'm not. But we would, when you're at SHOT Show, they're held, you have to walk through a casino to get to the convention floor. And so a lot of times we were on our way out or something. If we were waiting for the rest of the group to catch up with us, we might stop and just drop a quarter or two in a machine and play for the heck of it. But to go into a casino to gamble, nah, not me.
I figure it's worth it in that circumstance because if you win, awesome. If you don't, you're paying for the lights and the bathroom and the stuff that we used while we were there. It's like hardly even a loss. You know what I mean? It's essentially just giving them a tip and a thank you for giving us.
In that case, it's just entertainment anyway. So
Yeah, that's it's similar to like carnival games where they're rigged so it's really hard to win, but I'll still do them now and again just because it's fun. You're paying for that fun. And then when you got your kids with you and they want to play, and it's kind of I used it as kind of a lesson to teach my son that these are crooked, so you can have fun, but you're probably not going to win. I did when he was real young. I taught him a lesson. I told him something. I told him a fact, and he didn't believe me. And it was something that I knew was true. So I bet him. I asked him, "You want to bet me?" And he bet me, and he lost, and he never bet me again after that.
So, if by chance it would have backfired on you at the casino, so you throw the money in to the slot machine, you pull it, and you would have won huge. Then what have you told the son? I got lucky. I'm not supposed to win.
No, it's because like playing the games, there are games that you can win. Like I like to go early so it's not crowded, and then you hit like the little horse race games where you roll the ball, and it'll just be me playing against him. So basically, we're gonna win no matter what, and so we are increasing our odds of winning. Or like the inflate the balloon with the water gun, and so you do that where it's just us, and you can win, but then he can see that with other stuff you're probably not going to win. And kids will get upset or really disappointed because they didn't win, because they don't quite understand that the games are set up in a way to make it really hard to win.
And to play on that trait of the human to want to pursue or win, right? Like to want to compete. So they set everything up to encourage all of that and to downplay any apprehension or questioning of it. So it's good to give them that perspective, right? Like, hey, know when you're walking in here, just like in the casino, they take away the clocks and the windows. They don't want you to think about how long you've been here. Think about
it. Yeah, I saw a thing on casinos, and one of the guys was talking, and he said, "Yeah, you make the carpet so ugly nobody wants to look down, and the ceiling so boring nobody wants to look up."
Oh man, I never thought about that.
Just going back and looking at see if I missed.
They probably have to do that in a 9mm factory to keep people interested.
And X Adam was saying he likes the roulette, has a quick win or loss. And I don't do the digital ones. I do mechanical wheel, where it's a real wheel ball mechanically dropped.
Yeah, there's a lot of electronic stuff that I don't like at all, because a lot of it was the interaction. It's just, part of the entertainment is having the human there and the interplay and the conversation. If you're just walking up to a machine, that's a lot different than coming into a group of people. Some of them are drunk, some of them are happy, some of them are sad. Everybody's interacting.
Pretty much anything that's electronic, whether it's slot machine or claw machine, it's electronically set to pay out only every so often. It's not random. Like,
what about those pushers? What do you think of those, where like little things will move and you'll have like coins or prizes and stuff in big stacks moving around on those pushers?
I've played them before. They're kind of a loser. It's
They're fun to
crazy.
play with because again, it makes you feel like you're gonna. Oh, if I just drop
Yeah.
the coin here, I can get it. And every once in a while, you see stuff in a position where it will fall out of there. Like I remember at a gas station somewhere when I was driving around, there was one Texas, maybe I forget. And I was like there in the middle of the night, and I was bored, and I was looking for something to do anyway. And this one was just all stacked up, where there was like a bunch of coins, but every once in a while there was like $1 or like $50 in like a plastic box that was in with the coins, and it was just in such a way that I'm like, I know about 4 quarters will push this thing over. Of course, I put about 3 quarters in, or $33 worth of
Yeah.
quarters in there trying to do it. But the thing is, it was like a big giant one, and there was four things on it, and it was all moving at the same time. So I was fiddling with this one side, and while I was fiddling with one side, just randomly, a bunch of quarters fell out the other side. So even though I'd put $3 worth of quarters in there, it was only about 50 cents worth of my money because this other money just fell out of it, and I just put that money back in where I thought it would pay off.
Yeah, the slot machines, they're not random, so they're set to only pay out. I can't remember if it's on a daily basis or an hourly basis. And then there will be some like G Webs was talking about, finding the ones that pay out more, that will pay out more, but that's because they have to have there's like a minimum average that you have to that the slot machines
And they
pay
can
out.
put like one machine is set at 70%, all the rest of them are set at 0.7%,
Yeah.
and that could keep their average, and then they just keep randomly moving the one that pays out well.
And that's like with the claw machines, it's the same thing where they only pay out every so often. They used to be, when they were mechanical, they would loosen the jaws so they won't grip as tight, and that's how they adjusted to not pay out. My mom, one of the places she worked, they had one in her lobby, and so she ended up playing it a lot. She got really good, so she'd kind of clean them out every day.
You mean they physically go in and adjust the tension,
Yeah,
or there's like some
that's
robot
the way
that
they
just
used to be, where the claw tension, they could go in and adjust it to either, if it wasn't paying out, um, if the prizes are there for a long time, they might tighten it so it pays out, and then they can go back in and then loosen it back up so it stops paying out as much.
I worked at a bowling alley, and there was one of them, and every once in a while we had to throw stuff in there. But I don't remember. I mean, that was probably just not, my business or whatever, as far as any of that, or if that was a thing. I don't know. But I remember. I don't think I ever had to open it, but I remember seeing them open it and throw little balls of whatever prize it was. But I never thought about that. That's interesting because you could totally do that now in a setting electronically. You wouldn't have to ever open the machine. You could just say, make the tension of the gripper a variable and make that a timer. Sometimes, like you say, like 3 hours of the week, it's going to be a strong grip, and the rest of the time it isn't. And then just randomize when that 3 hours is, or whatever whatever ratio you do.
Yeah, and if you watch, there'll be videos on YouTube, guys that winning, but a lot of those you can see if you look at the room, it's their claw machine. So they open it up and it's like a $500 or it's some weird prize. It's their claw machine, so it's all fake. Hillbilly Up is out there. Good evening. And X Adam said he saw an 80s Camaro commercial on YouTube. It was Japanese guy with an accent, and the writing on the screen was foreign. Do they have American cars over there? There's not a lot. It's rare to see them.
It's not like there's like no Chevy dealership in Japan.
Not I've never seen one. I've seen like Harleys, old Harleys. There was a guy, he was wearing kind of a green, it was like a Vietnam era army jacket where it's just all green fatigue, and riding a chopper in downtown Tokyo.
Everybody just hates them because it's making noise and being making a spectacle, or everybody was like, "Holy crap, that's awesome"?
I think it was more that they didn't care for it because he kind of cut off traffic and he was. Can't remember if he's dropping off or picking up his girlfriend and just kind of doing whatever he wanted to do. Wow, Two Live Moose said his buddy from high school won the 1.5 million on a progressive slot machine back in the 90s. Now he's broke. That's a big thing with lottery winners. They'll win however many $1 million and then just blow through it and then be bankrupt after a few years.
Yeah, if you don't make it, you don't understand it, you're not going to be wise with it, right? And then taxes probably are half of it or more.
Yeah,
People
it's
don't get
going to
ready
be
for that.
kind of a combination of things where, you've got what seems like unlimited money. So, you want something, you can buy it. And there's always more money until that day where there isn't any more money. And it could also be like when you don't have money, a lot of people will view it as, if they get extra money, that it's kind of a windfall and they're just going to lose it anyways. So they'll spend it on something and not save it.
Well, if you've never had savings and you don't appreciate what savings are and that kind of stuff, then why would you value it, right? You'd value having something in your closet rather than something in your bank account.
Yeah, and that's, I used to kind of not quite that bad, but that's kind of the way I was where, I never had a lot of money. If I had money, I would spend it. I'd be able to keep track of what I had in my head because, it usually wasn't very much normally. But it was, I can't remember if it was teacher I had, WSU, Washington State University, who was kind of talking about that. And I think it was an English class, but she had relatives that if they ever got extra money, they just have a party and blow it because they weren't going to have it for very long anyway, so they might as well enjoy it. And that actually got me to thinking that I was kind of that way. And that started the transformation into being a responsible adult, where I started looking at money differently. And then, a few other things at the same time kind of fell in line, and then met my wife, who is an accountant, and that really helped kind of get financially stuff straightened out and on the right track. Mario Mosen's out there. Hey.
Good evening.
And Sergeant Joe Smith said won $7 at 17 on my third ever Powerball ticket. It was $1 back then, and they weren't supposed to be selling me tickets at 17, but I looked 25 then.
I used to buy scratchers on a regular because my grandpa did. So, you win if you buy them on the regular. They usually have enough $25, $50, $100 ones in there that you're going to be pretty much covered. And then every once in a while you win 1,000 and it's a good deal. And that's pretty much where I was. I think I won 700 or maybe 1,000 or something one time when I was a kid. And I figure that's probably covered every scratcher I've ever bought or will buy. So I kind of figure scratchers are a wash for me based on a whole bunch of 50 and 25. And that one time I won like $1,000 or something. Because I only buy them like on a birthday or like,
That's
what
what
scratcher. I haven't bought one of those in 3 years. I'll buy one. But
yeah, that's pretty much the way I am. It's been a long time since I bought them, and it would be just, I'd kind of get a wild hair and maybe buy a few.
As a gift for somebody. I think that would be a good, $25 scratcher would be like an interesting gift for somebody who's, like a friend or somebody.
Yeah.
Something where it's hard to buy a gift for. It's probably an interesting gift.
And the most I've ever won was maybe like $50 at any one time.
I think the worst would win like a lot of money from a scratcher because then they'd have you addicted for life.
Well, that's one thing that I hate like for Washington State, the way the state advertises the lottery, it's like, oh, I forget exactly what they call it, but it's like Dream Incorporated. You basically they're pushing. If you win, your dreams are going to come true. You can do whatever you want.
It's all over. You're done.
And
easy ticket.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the state having a lottery. I just don't like. Basically, it's a tax on the poor because that's who spends the money on the scratch tickets and stuff like that on the lottery.
Well, what about like when an office, 25 people in an office, each put $5 in and buy whatever the hell that is worth of tickets? Is that a tax on the poor? I think that's kind of an interesting way to participate in a fun gamble, fun kind of potential. Yeah, everybody can sit around at lunch thinking about what they would do with it. And then when they do win, or if they ever win, everybody gets a little bonus. I don't think that's a tax on the poor, but I know what you mean. If somebody thinks it's a way to invest, like every week I'm investing $25 in scratchers because this will pay off. Like I think
basically tweakers will come in, spend $20, $50, stand there at the scratch machine, scratch it, and then they'll lose and then pump more money in. And then if they win, they just pump it right back into the machine.
Yep. Like, oh, good. I paid for a bunch of my old scratchers. Let me buy more right away.
And like I said, I don't have a problem with it, the lottery itself. It's just the way that they advertise it really bothers me.
I have a question about lottery tickets.
Yes,
what?
sir.
Why is it whenever like the Mega $1 Million nationwide lottery or whatever gets to be like $200 or $300 million, all of a sudden everybody in the country is buying a lottery ticket? And I'm thinking, okay, you're excited about $200 million, but you're not excited about winning $5 million. It's like, who cares about winning $5 million? I want to win 200. It's like, why aren't you there every week? I don't understand,
Well, I think of it as like a threshold, right? Like I'm not going to gamble, but if it got to whatever you just said, like 100 million or some crazy amount of money, okay, maybe it's worth $1 for some crazy amount of money like that. I mean, you got the same very little odds that you'd ever have. So I could see it, but I think again, I'd have to be talked into it, or somebody would have to be doing it in front of me, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that too."
I'd be getting fairly pretty with $5 million. I'll tell you what.
Oh no, I mean I don't disagree. I'm just saying I think it's the threshold. Like it's like if I'm at a store buying something to drink or cigarettes or something, and somebody in front of me is buying a ticket, I could care less. But if they're giddy and they're saying, "Oh, it's $120 million this time," like I might go, "Oh, well, maybe that way I'll buy a ticket." Where normally I'm not going to buy a ticket every week.
But are your chances of winning worse when a lot of other people are buying tickets versus when nobody's buying any? That's kind of
it's the same. It's the same. Your chances don't depend. The other people playing aren't a factor. You're always against the randomness of however many digits.
Well, I guess
so that's there. But that's the thing. Like since it's the same odds, for me it would be, again, I'd have to be in the right place at the right time. I'd have to be standing in the 7-Eleven checkout and somebody remind me that it's a 200 million. But at 200 million, I'll waste $1, right? Okay, I'll put $1 in for that. $1. I'm not putting in 25 because I think I'm going to get better odds. Like I'll put $1. Like if lightning's going to strike, it's going to strike. But again, I'm not going to do that every week thinking, oh, well, maybe lightning will strike. And that's all I'm thinking is that just that.
Odds wise, I think I had heard you're more likely to get hit by lightning twice than win the lottery.
Oh yeah, I bet. Right.
The main reason I don't buy lottery tickets is I'm that guy that's stuck in behind you at the convenience store while you're buying 30 different scratch off tickets and taking 20 minutes to get checked out. And I don't want anybody behind me wanting to follow me out in the parking lot with a baseball bat. So I just want to get my roller dogs and get the heck out of there.
Mario Mosen said, I still have 7,000 of my 10,000 bonus I got while I was in Iraq in 2009.
Right on.
So he is financially responsible.
When I went in, and then you go in and you go to start going to schools. And then as you go to schools, like you're in a unit, but then you go to school with other people who are just new, right? Or learning whatever it is you're learning. So you meet people at your schools that are from all over the place. So I went in and then I went to school and I kept going to schools. And every time I'd go to school, I'd meet people in the same situation as me. And it's like, oh, I should have got a bonus for this. Oh, I should have got a bonus for that. Like I was probably at about, back in the olden days, this was in the 80s, right? But it was something like $15,000 worth of bonuses or something that like potentially I could have got. And I'm the dumbass who went in and like, holy crap, I can sign this? Right on. Thanks. Like I didn't even think about bonuses. Like I had no idea that I think I knew that bonuses existed, but I was just so stoked to be signing up and going in that I just walked right past any kind of bonuses. And from what I understand, the recruiters get a kickback if you don't take bonuses. So they're more than happy to let people sign up without bonuses. They're not going to be like, oh, by the way, you're missing bonuses here. But I'm glad to hear when people actually get that kind of stuff when they enlist.
My brother-in-law was
ahead.
a recruiter for the Army after he served in Afghanistan. Then after he got back, he became a recruiter. He was supposed to give me a t-shirt, a polo shirt, and a travel mug, but never did. What were you saying, Gary?
I was going to say they ought to have a deal where, if you buy a firearm, that you could have a chance to win like 5 more or something like that. Have a scratch off ticket after you buy your gun. If you
They could totally do that they could just put that in from like Glock or Smith and Wesson. They could totally do that. Yeah, like you buy one of the snakes, and if you scratch this off, maybe you win the whole line of snakes from Colt. You buy a King Cobra and you get a Python and everything else, like whatever. That would be cool. Or if you buy like one of the, I don't know, whatever caliber, maybe you get like their whole product line of that caliber from Smith and Wesson or something. Or maybe it's just like all the accessories.
Bless you.
Sergeant Joe Smith said the lottery is not a tax on the poor; it's a tax on the stupid. I kind of think that. One of my coworkers, she said they should put birth control on the scratch tickets.
But I mean, you got to look at where they're being sold. That's the truth of it, right? Like, where are they being sold?
But the state, at least here, the state kind of on their advertising, the way they spin it here, it's like, well, windfalls from the lottery are used to pay for schools, used to pay for highway improvements and stuff like that. So it's a positive thing to have the lottery because it pays for public works and stuff like that. So interesting how they paint it.
Yeah, don't look at the cost and consequences of it. Look at the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon kind of does that. They have an app. So like if you scratch a losing ticket, they have a second chance, that you can scan to enter the ticket into a second chance, but it says this money just went to like this school, or this money just went to this park.
Washington will do that now and again, where you can submit a losing ticket and then for either a second chance or something like that, or win something else. I have bought scratch tickets, like when they put in the Mariners Stadium. It was Safeco Field, now it's T-Mobile. But to help for funding, I did buy extra ones of those just because I like, I'm a lifelong Mariners fan, so I was supporting that, even though that was a huge thing where a lot of people didn't like that the public money was being used to fund the stadium for a private company.
Well, and a lot of people didn't realize that on the back of those Mariners tickets, if you lost, you could send them in and be entered into winning a season ticket or like lifetime season ticket, depending on like the amount, because I think they had a couple different amounts that you could play.
So that's let's put out this hook, and then we're going to catch some people by selling the lottery tickets to them. A couple of people will get a bonus, like payoff, but then normally everybody just throws away their tickets. Now they're saying, hey, just scan them or whatever. So now they're creating essentially an email list based on everybody who's willing to buy a ticket. That is, at one level, no big deal. At another level, one of the most deceived, like, what's the word? Like one of the most devious things to do that I could ever imagine. To put out bait that says, here's a lottery, and then to go, oh, by the way, why don't you tell us who you are? At one point it was anonymous until you decided to tell us who you are, and now we can directly market to people who are interested in the lottery. That's a whole nother level of we were concerned that the government would track who owns guns or who's in a religion or who votes for who. Do we want the government knowing who is willing to buy a lottery ticket? What level of government awareness is that, and is that beneficial to us?
Sorry, I was looking at Wesley Foster was asking a question, so I was trying to.
Yeah, I don't think that's anything we control for sure, but I've only seen the one name ever.
Yeah, I went back through the chat to look at, and all of them say Wesley Foster.
But if you leave a comment on a video, in the comments afterwards, it shows up as your handle versus your YouTube name.
Really?
So that might be. And that just started happening like 2 or 3 weeks ago. When I leave a comment on videos, it shows up as at Gizzard Gary.
That's probably YouTube playing around then, trying to be like Whatnot or something, or trying to be like WhatsApp. Or
yeah, I wish they'd quit tweaking stuff personally.
It's a little late in the year for him to be doing that though, so hopefully it'll calm down here.
I did notice that StreamYard added a new feature.
Oh yeah, did you know about this, Gizzard? See what we're doing over here?
Over where?
Look at this. I'm typing this into StreamYard. Go over into comments and then look at the bottom.
Oh, it's fine. I've been looking for that all week. This is the first time I saw it. Cool.
See, he already knew about it. I knew it.
I knew it was coming, but it's like, well, I thought this was supposed to be here, and it's not. So, cool. I have to click about.
So normally, when we were on StreamYard, we'd have to open up a new window in order to chat. Now we can be in StreamYard and participate in the YouTube chat. They've given us another interface.
I used to have my cell phone watching the live stream so I could comment from my cell phone while I was, on the computer.
Cool. I can close this other window I have open now.
That's the way I would
have it for polls and for doing other stuff like being a moderator. But
yeah.
Most of the time, I'll be on my tablet, so I'll have it's easier to type on my phone. So I'll have my phone for leaving comments and just listen to it on my tablet. It's nice to be on the computer where it has autofill. So if I'm talking to somebody, I don't have to type out their name.
Yeah.
Especially people with the really long names, and then combinations of uppercase and lowercase, and
like Abigail.
Yeah. What were you saying?
How long before we move from phones and computers to just glasses, so that, you know what I mean, like augmented reality, so that we just look at the wall and the things that we want show up in front of us? I'm trying to think of like a movie where they've done that good. But I think that'll be the next step, is some kind of a glasses that we wear on our heads, or some kind of a thing we put on our ears that projects out in front of us. But I think that we'll just be looking straight ahead at something, and then extra shit will appear in these glasses, like to augment or to add to. So you'll look at a blank piece of paper and that'll be your screen, or you'll look at a wall and that'll be your screen. and the screen will appear for you. But if we need a keyboard, we'll just wiggle our fingers in front of us. We
Yeah,
don't.
that's what that new thing that Apple introduced last month, that Apple
goggles.
Vision Pro, I believe. That's exactly what that is.
Well, that was Google, those Google glasses.
I think that was pretty much that, right? Like, and then you could look at something and say, "What am I looking at?" Or if you find this on Amazon, like I think that'll be some next evolution, other than like a new tablet or a new phone or a. I think for a while there, people thought it was going to be like a scroll, like a scroll piece of paper, like you'll pull out something that a smaller thing will turn into a larger thing by just expanding. I don't think that stuff's going to happen as much as people aren't going to want to hold stuff anymore. Or maybe something like in Star Trek where you just are wearing something that you touch when you want, like a little Amazon button that you wear all the time. Talk to it through your vibrations or something.
X Adam One asked me if I won the lottery after being responsible, what would be your first want that you would get? Kind of would depend on how much I won.
Yeah. 15 million is different than 1,500, right?
Yeah. Because if I won enough, it would be paying off the card, paying off the house.
That's the responsible stuff, though.
Yeah. Big chunk in the savings.
Still responsible. So then what?
There would be, I would like to give, again, this is all dependent on the amount, but give some to charity. Charity is good for your soul. And then I don't know if, yeah, I don't know. If he didn't say how much I would have left over.
Well, the thing is if you want enough that you could become debt free, right? And you say $100,000 left over after you do all the other stuff. Maybe like buying a couple new pistols or rifles or whatever. Something like, go on a trip to, wherever you wanted to go.
Oh, if it was enough, I would probably want to move just to a different property.
Yeah, I'd buy a place out in the country with about a section of land so I could go have my own range.
40 acres?
And a mule.
More than that, 160 acres.
But you have to remember, too, that you're going to have to pay taxes on that. So you got to keep enough in reserve to pay taxes.
Yeah, but you get a place that's in the middle of nowhere, and that gets to be cheaper and cheaper, right?
Yeah. I don't know. My wife would not want to live in the middle of nowhere.
What if you had a helicopter or some sort of a cool tunnel?
Ooh. Yeah.
A chauffeured helicopter.
And I could afford to shoot whatever caliber I want. I wouldn't have to shoot 9mm anymore.
If you only get an acre, you have to shoot 9mm. But if you get anything more than an acre, you can start shooting real calibers.
Well, if you get a big tract of land, then you pull out the 45 to start shoot a few of those to clear the land.
Yeah, take down the trees and stuff like that with it.
Oh, when we got back during the cough, when there was all the extra money if you had kids and all the money the state was taking from everybody to throw at everybody else, we put a certain amount, certain amount went to bills, certain amount went to savings, and then I had a little bit that I spent on firearms.
He's saying 368 million. If you got half of that in taxes or whatever, then essentially 180-ish. So you're gonna pay off a bunch of stuff, and that's going to be 100 million left over, maybe.
Oh, more than
So now
that.
you've got 100 million. Well, I'm saying, but you had a
Yeah.
lot of bills,
Yeah.
and you're putting money aside for kids, so you don't have to worry about it, stuff like that. So now you got 100 million to play with. I think I would create I like the idea of these micro lending situations that they'll make up for either regions or areas of interest or groups or something. So to start some urban farming to get people in cities using the areas, either vacant lots or rooftops or vertical, and invest in urban agriculture and entrepreneurs that are bringing nutrition and literally new life to city areas of all around the country. But at the same time, I like the idea of some of these. I always think of fondly of my travels through the middle of New Mexico, where they're in Arizona too. Sometimes, maybe in other states, there's the same way. But like little abandoned towns that maybe back in the old days would be where there was needed to be like a truck stop or something, or maybe there was a mine nearby, and there was these little towns for some reason, and it's not always clear. But now they're just abandoned, and there's maybe one person living in them. I think it'd be neat to throw some money at revitalizing places like that for either, I don't know, maybe like small groups or businesses or industries that have the ability to be remote. I think that would be neat to invest in like micro. I don't know what that's called, but like where you seed some money,
Yeah.
and then you create a board of directors that make sure that everything is nonprofit going back into its own group, so that that becomes hopefully viable, but then self-sufficient. And I think that would be a fun way to sprinkle money around and see it grow.
Yeah. One thing I would love to be able to do with that much money is like a scholarship, be able to
That'd be
run a scholarship program.
at a specific school, or like for a specific thing, or for a specific person or group.
I don't know. Just something that'll help.
With $100 million, you could do a little of all, right? Like you wouldn't have to be limited to anything.
Shiloh Rose seed funding.
Is that what
That's
it's
the name
called?
for that. Yeah. So is that Shiloh? Is that you, Shiloh? Shiloh? It's been a long time if it has. If it is.
Have you seen these system services where they just send you the food every day or every week, and it's essentially the ingredients to do stuff and the recipes and stuff? So you just sort of either heat them or assemble them and cook them. But have you seen those kind of services? Would you get something like that if you were loaded?
Sorry, I was reading that. I think that is the Shiloh that I was thinking. Haven't seen him in over 20 years.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a little distracted there. Yeah, I'll hear now and again. I'll hear stuff from Kevin about you, but wow, it's really nice to see you out there. I know this isn't interesting for anybody else, but yeah, cool. Now I'm curious on how you stumbled across this.
So what's the scholarship for whatever school?
Kyokushinkai was the style that I did. The karate style was one of the styles that I did.
So if you had 100 million, would you start schools or like, help schools that exist out, or do something like that?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought much into it. It was just something, it would be more just to help somebody get an education, to try and make the world better. But yeah. So Shiloh was saying he's 42 now. Last time I saw him, he was 19.
But the first part is he says I'm old. That's 42 is not old. I'm just saying. I don't want to think of myself as being old, and I'm 42.
42 is less than half, right? Like, so you're still young.
Well, I guess you got to look at it differently because like, what's your family history? Because
Who cares about
most,
your family history? Your family history, the way I look at it, is unless you're some unique situation, your family history is people eating essentially garbage their whole lives or working in places that are super toxic or both. You know what I mean? Like our grandparents, our parents even ate horrible garbage when they were kids, at least compared to what people eat now. And well, not always, but for the most part, they ate like super rich and they were smoking all the time and they were licking lead paint and doing weird stuff and letting stuff drip on them and not washing their hands. Like they just lived in a whole different world compared to us. I think we're way cleaner and healthier than they were. But
Yeah, when I lived in Eastern Washington, I knew him, his sisters, his mom. Wow,
so were you DM Foss back then?
no. The DM Foss was just I wanted to leave a comment on it's probably one of Yankees videos. So I had to make an account. So I did, I've told the story before, but my gaming name was DM Foss when I was a kid. That's that's what my high scores, I would put DMF. So I just used that as a YouTube handle and kind of went from there.
But is that something you called yourself as a kid too? Did you write that on a wall when you were young and stuff like? Was that your fantasy name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, on basically Galaga and Choplifter. And there was one other one. But the high scores, I would sit down and then wipe everybody else's name off so all the high scores would say DMF.
We'd always put sex on those.
Wow, it's really cool to have you jump in the chat.
Throw them a link.
I don't have what email if you want a link.
The email's at the bottom of the scroll
Yeah.
there. untacticalfoss@gmail.com.
I'll send you a link if you want.
Heck yeah.
So I only know one person from back in the olden days anymore. When I was a little kid, we still chat every once in a while, and that person knows a bunch of people who I know. So
Pretty much that's
and then family, I guess that doesn't count.
so two, like from school, there's two people that I still keep in contact to that I met them both in junior high. We've been friends since then. We talk probably not regularly, but semi-regularly. We'll
I mean,
text.
I consider that friend like essentially my brother because I've known him for so fucking long and we know
Yeah.
everything about each other. Right?
Well, that's the way these two guys are, And then Justin, who I met when I was in Eastern Washington at WSU, we still keep in contact. When I went out to Thunder on the Prairie, he's the one I stayed with Friday night. Stayed at his place.
So you know friends that live in Nebraska?
I do. I know.
That's too bad.
I know at least two people. Three.
I don't want you to feel like you're a failure or nothing. Like you can't help that. It's not something you can control.
well, Travis P11, Defense Dad, Pat in a
Yes.
Bunker, and DJ. So there's 4 people plus your other buddy. So that's like at least 5.
Well, and then you got Stan from Pawn Shop.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was really hoping he was going to go so I could finally meet Stan in person.
Yeah, he had something else he had to be at. Otherwise, he would be there. I talked to him on the phone. Yeah, Sandhills too.
Sandhills also.
But I was talking about the people he met in person.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. 100 million I'd fund low-income students and other students wanting to go into psychology or psychiatry who are only held back by funding, and he'd fund their education. That's pretty cool. That would actually solve stuff too, because then you'd have a bunch of new perspectives out there. Like, what are they doing? They're always complaining about how many new agents or whatever. How about if there was that many new mental health professionals out there at different levels, for different people, for different regions, for different everything, right? Skill levels and different occupations, all the different stuff. It'd be super. We'd have a different world, right? If people were mentally healthier.
He said we have a massive shortage of people in those fields and more people needing those services. I wouldn't want funding to stop anyone because of money.
I think that's awesome, especially with the creative and entrepreneurial nature of the way people are, because like you said, there's so many more people in need. And the old fashioned way was somebody'd have to decide or get forced to get some kind of treatment and then either have to go in or be in a place where the treatment was available. And now with all this I forget what they call it when you do medicine over the internet like this.
Telehealth.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And especially with mental health. How awesome. Like, again, we'd have a different world if we had a campaign like that. I think that's awesome. Great idea.
And in the description, there's a link for the Gilded server. It's a place to hang out, chit chat with other people, share memes, pictures. What's that?
Find secret links into here.
So yeah, Shiloh, I don't know if you do Gilded or know what Gilded is. It's kind of like Discord. But if you're into that, you can link that, join, and then you can get a hold of me anytime you want. Or use the email scrolling at the bottom of the screen.
Sergeant Joe Smith's got a lot of people he's willing to pay. If you got any jobs I can do, let me know. I'm down.
He's had a problem with getting people to work.
If I can do something from Arizona, let me know.
Shiloh said he does life coaching and mental health. I'm guessing that's coaching.
Couching, because you have to lay down on a couch, so you have to get that couch all the right way with the right angles and whatever.
My daughter says they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, because they don't have a professional coucher. Padding's in the wrong spot, the wrong kind of pillow. Doesn't work out.
Thing is, a lot of the people with bachelor's degree in psychology end up working as caseworkers, children and stuff like that. There's not a whole lot of businesses out there for adult mental health counseling, which there needs to be. Not that children aren't in need too; they definitely are. But
yeah, and I think also there's still a stigma around all of it. That
handyman in Arizona.
Oh, is he going to buy you dinner first before you do the handyman in Arizona?
I think that's for G-Webs.
Oh.
I don't know. I thought about that. I used to do that kind of stuff. Actually, I was just thinking about how I could set up the van to be kind of modify the van into carrying tools. It would be super easy.
You need to put a cool racing stripe down the side and a spoiler on the back of it.
If I was going to do a racing stripe on the van, I would do more like the Herbie, like going up probably the driver's side, up the hood, and then over the top, and then back down the door on the driver's side. The Mach 5 does that too, doesn't it? Have a single stripe off center.
I don't think it has a stripe. It has the big 5 on the hood.
Oh, okay, so maybe some of his competitors though. I like the 60s, 70s
Yeah.
off center stripe, but I like it going down the top of the vehicle as opposed to the sides. Yeah, no shit. I'll pretend to be whatever you need for $60 an hour.
Yeah, I never made $60 an hour in my life.
I made $60 an hour before, but not for very long.
And I worked the same place for almost 43 years. I never made that kind of money. I might have stayed if I was making that kind of money.
You make $60 an hour if you got to go swim down and pick up them rods that fall out of the rack.
No, I had a nice cushy desk job. If you're going to work in a nuclear power plant, that's the kind of job you want as far away from that reactor as possible.
So it's totally off topic, but speaking of going down into the water, I was watching, I think it was on Instagram. So essentially you get this little thing that floats around on the surface of the water, and it's got a snorkel on it that goes up in the air, maybe 12 inches, and that's where it intakes air. And then it's pumping air into this tube, and this tube is super long, right? Like, I don't know, 25 feet or something. And at the end, it's like a snorkel. So it's essentially taking air, pumping it down that tube, so you can go down underneath the water in a pond or a lake or something and snorkel around and not have to keep coming up for air. Would you let a robot send air down to you like that and hang out underneath the water for a while? Or would that freak you out and you wouldn't do it?
In radiated water or plain water?
No, sorry. Just in a pool, like, I don't know, like a lake or beach or something. Would you allow a robot to pump air down to you like that on a 25-foot tube so you'd be way down underneath the water? Maybe playing. I don't know if I wouldn't want to be in the ocean. I don't think I want to be like having some kind of weird jellyfish come up on me. But in a lake, I would do it.
And you don't want to be so deep that you couldn't come up right away because you'd get the bends or something like that. But 25.
Well, I don't think 25. I don't know how it works, but I don't think that's that deep. They wouldn't make it dangerous. But I think it would be scary as shit if you were 25 feet down and the robot gave up on you.
When I worked at the shipyard, we'd work in air-fed suits sometimes.
Oh, really? But you got a person on the other end making sure that robot's running.
No. Basically, there's just this huge airline that runs everything, runs all the air tubes, will run your air-fed. And when we're working on the dry dock, sometimes when we're working outside, you would get the forklifts would drive over the hose, the main hose, and cut off your air. So you'd be working and you hear shoo. And since you've got a full fed air-fed suit on, you can't really hear you. So we'd be screaming at the guy to get off the hose, and maybe he'd hear you, maybe he wouldn't. And since we're in a containment area, we can't just jump out because you've got all this procedures that you have to follow if you step out of the containment. So yeah, there's a few times where Donnie and I would be screaming and waving our arms at somebody farther down the dock to get off the airline.
I would have been the guy in the forklift.
Well, you're not going to die, but it gets real hot real fast. Yeah, you get a lot of carbon dioxide buildup.
Ironically, the guy on the forklift is eating a hot dog, and he starts choking on the hot dog and then stops the forklift on your tube. So you all you all die down there and unable to come up and give him the Heimlich, and he dies up there. So the guy chokes and kills 3 people.
There was a guy, Dean, that I would work with sometimes. And he's older. And I tell him, hey, if you have a heart attack, you better die out in the open because I'm not dragging your ass anywhere.
So I sent
That's the
Gorn in,
benefit.
by the way.
That's the
I
benefit of getting them gym shoes that have the wheels and the heels. Is if you get a heart attack or die or whatever, people can just scoot you around like if you're once you get the rigor mortis, they can scoot you around like if you're on a hand truck.
Kind of like Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They still have those shoes?
I think so. I keep seeing them on the Instagram and TikToks.
I remember every time you used to go into a mall, kids would be going through there in them shoes. Knock you over almost. The whippersnappers.
So everybody's just going to ignore Sergeant Joe Smith saying his groceries are like $100 a month. That's a
I saw
reason to
that.
move to Arkansas right there.
That's
Unless you're buying ramen for every meal, that's a pretty good deal.
yeah. Pretty much anytime I go to the store around here, it's $100. I don't know. Maybe he just eats Pop Tarts or something.
Well, even that, I mean, what, a box of Pop Tarts is probably like $6.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can get the non-name brand ones. I got me a what do you call that thing? A air fryer now. So anybody know if Pop Tarts work in an air fryer? Is it worth buying Pop Tarts? I'm trying things in the air fryer now.
Never heard of anybody.
I mean, what would be the difference between throwing it in the air fryer? I mean, a toaster is,
It's essentially a toaster oven with a fan. So I think
yeah. It's the old convection ovens that now they just rebranded and called it a air fryer.
Pretty
it
much.
looks like a watermelon now instead of a square thing.
Well, they still have some of the square things also that they call air fryers.
If I stuck a frozen burrito that you would put in a microwave normally, I put one of them in there and it works. It exploded a little bit, but it was good.
I don't know, I would like to have one, but I don't need it, and I don't have the counter space.
Mine's the size of a watermelon, so I'm pretty sure it's like the smallest one they make. How much do you think I paid for it?
$30.
Oh no! Anybody else? Any guesses? How much? And it's a $79 or $49 one is how much it would normally cost.
So I'm gonna say
$12.
Probably got it off Vine for free.
No, well, no, not that good. I got it at a thrift store for $7. $7. It was a no-brainer. I had to buy it because I wanted one anyway, and it's small and it's about the size of I don't know, 2 cups or something. Like you can put a small burrito in there and it works, like a handful of French fries. So it's little, but it lets me try what an air fryer is all about.
I was looking at one the other day. They had them on sale for $20.
I would totally get one for $20. No brainer, definitely. No matter what size, because even this little one is fun to play with.
I got the toaster oven with convection, but I don't think it's as good.
It's about the same, but it's just faster, I think.
Oh, because how people talk about the air fryers sounded better than the results I get from
the
toaster.
Like, I haven't had it long enough to know, but I haven't played with it enough. But to me, it seems like just a faster toaster oven. He said he texted.
Yeah, I did get the message. I saw it. So it was great to see you out there. And yeah, I'll send you a text.
Are you normally up in the middle of the night, or was just this you're up late to see the show? That's not Shiloh.
I said, nice to meet y'all. Yeah, have a good night. He said he just jumped in to catch up
Yeah.
with me.
So stayed up late just to be able to talk to you.
Right
That
on.
should make you
Cool.
feel special.
Well, I don't know if anybody told you, but I kind of kick ass. So yeah.
Yeah, I've met you in person. You're larger than life, I tell you what.
Well, yeah, a little too large.
I might have met DM Foss once in person.
Yeah, he got to shoot a bunch of ARs, and now he owns an AR. He's owned a couple ARs.
What tests do you do to make sure people are human instead of just elaborate robot duplicate?
I'm fairly confident with the hug test. You know, then you can feel if there's any mechanical workings inside there.
If you give them a USB drive and they put it in their mouth and know what's on it,
if you, I'm hoping to go to X Adam 1. I'm hoping to go again to Thunder on the Prairie. So if you can make that next year, he said he got laid off, and if he had known he was going to get laid off, he would have went this year. It's a fun time out there.
would the opposite of Thunder on the Prairie be Silence in the Sandhills?
I think it would be.
Maybe you should arrange like a quiet weekend near Sandhills sometime. Or no, do a suppress shoot. Suppress shoot, that's it.
Other than when we were doing shooting, it's pretty quiet in that part of Nebraska too.
I hope people keep going to Tulsa now that Clover hates Tulsa.
Has anybody been to OFasts?
I really want to. Mike is a friend of mine, and I really dig
What is it?
Oklahoma Full Auto Shoot and Trade Show. OFASTS. So it's been going on for a long time. Mike Friend, owner of Firing Line in it's kind of northeast of Tulsa in Winona. I forget the name of that town, but kind of Winnout, something like that, is kind of between Gizzard and Snob. There's a full auto shoot, but it's also a trade show. So it's also like kind of a swap meet / gun show / vendor thing. And that's been going on a long time. But the thing is, it's in July and it's in Oklahoma. So super hot and 1,700 miles for me to get to. I haven't been able to get to it yet. But they talk about it at Tulsa. So they want to make her. So I'm assuming it's getting bigger and bigger every year.
I do want to go sometime, at least once, to Wanamacher to experience it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But I can only.
But the part about Wanamaker is awesome for lots of different reasons. It's just massive, so it's interesting to attend. It's massive, so if you're a collector, it's interesting on levels. As a vendor, it's interesting. But I think of all the different ways I've gone there, the Gun Channels group getting together and using it as a hub, because Gun Channels is a bunch of different people and they all get together and have their own interests and their own like groups and stuff. But then Tulsa, more than SHOT Show even, is a place where everybody get together and hang out at the show, and then the evenings and stuff turn into other stuff. So I like that part of it, and then having that reunion of people getting together, even though I haven't been able to get to all of them, just knowing that element is happening, that makes Tulsa unique and better than all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's where I cut my teeth learning how to do video interviews and stuff like that. You know, if you've never been to a big show, well, you work as media there in Wanamaker, and you kind of get a taste for what the big shows are like and stuff like that. But it's a lot more low key. But there's still a ton of people there, so it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be around all those guns and stuff like that is just pretty cool. But it's like G Web says, it's nothing without the people. So
It's definitely adding, you know, icing to the top for sure. But then there's the ranges. You know, we've had opportunities to get together and shoot and bring guns and that kind of stuff. But then there's also the museums. So, and then we haven't even tapped into doing like getting a mini mansion Airbnb or something, and everybody showing up at the same place and having like a really cool evening event or something, or a day before or day after type of event. We kind of talked about it a couple of years, but we never really, except for that one year at the hotel. You know, we haven't had a get together with everybody there, but that's, you know, there's still a potential of more stuff to do at Wanamaker, so it's even
yeah, that was
it's
pretty
cool.
epic when we took over. We pretty much took over that whole hotel.
But then, you know, that year with the house that was near that cafe or whatever
Oh,
on the
yeah.
north side, that was
Mhm.
pretty good too. I mean, everybody wasn't there, but almost everybody was in that house. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was the year that Clover cooked hamburgers. I remember
Yeah, exactly.
2019. I remember because that was when I got my AR.
Oh, you're is that the one with the wrong bolt carrier group?
Mm-hmm.
And if I had not seen your video, I would not have thought that the which was my 300 blackout that I had the first time I took out and shot it. I was having problems, and I remembered your video. Mine had the wrong bolt carrier group in it.
Really?
Mine had one for a 50 Beowulf.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So it was just not even intercepting or interacting with the cartridge when it was in there. It was just pushing it forward, and then it was a big gap.
It would fire one, maybe two, and then either not extract or stovepipe. And then I it kind of flashed in my head, oh, this is exactly what Gary talked about having a problem with. And then so when I got home, I took it apart and then looked at it, because I didn't even look at it when I got it. It was an upper from Bear Creek. Took it apart, got looking at it, and then realized, oh, it's the wrong bolt face.
Do the bolts say on them like what caliber they are, or you just have to put a cartridge in there to figure it out?
Some do, some
get,
don't.
Yeah. On
I think
mine,
most
it
of
was
them do.
engraved right next to the bolt face itself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm sure they're pretty close to
Yeah.
each other.
Once we broke it down at the range, and the gunsmith, he took his flashlight and shined on it. He says, "Oh, well, that's why you're having trouble." Yep.
Yeah, and I just replaced the bolt instead of everything, so it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Gary,
Yes.
is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, let's see. I have a show coming up in a couple of days. Friday night, Foul Territory. That's at 9 p.m. Central. We'd love to have you there. I should have a video coming out this week on a new site from Excess Sites, so look for that. And thanks for the link.
Oh, no problem. And I forgot I was going to show. Let me make myself full screen. I got in the final of the trio, the Count Chocula's.
Oh, cool.
So I've got Count Chocula, Frankenberry, and Booberry.
Neat.
So those will go out in future prize packs. G23. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Once I finish with changing some stuff over, there'll be an updated video on the 40 Smith & Wesson PCC that I bought. Now I've completely like altered it.
Oh,
But
I didn't show those, did I? All right, hang on, everybody, hold on, because I opened up the email and had the stuff ready to go, and forgot that I didn't actually show them. So hang on a second, everybody, don't go anywhere. So you can tell everybody what we're looking at here.
so that's the new PCC upper from Gorilla Machining, and a 10-inch handguard from Gorilla Machining. That's the original upper, the M2 that came with it from Olympic Arms, which is no longer in business, out of Washington State. And so, yeah, I'm getting rid of the A2 handle and going to a flat top so I can put a scope on it.
All right. Let me
answer.
Sorry. Go ahead.
To answer X Adam, yes, that 40 Smith & Wesson PCC is a great one.
All right, now let me play this. GearWebsites.com for all your 2A related t-shirts, stickers, patches, web design, web consulting, 3D design and consulting, you name it, he can probably help you out. GearWebsites.com. G-Webs, anything you want to plug?
I'll plug Brooke's chat on Saturdays. We were talking about mental health earlier, and she has a continual effort each Saturday to focus on mental health awareness and suicide prevention, how to bring those topics into conversations to further our ability to have effective communication with other people on our side and the other side about our things that were important to us. So join her, and I don't think she has a guest this week, but I don't remember. But each Saturday afternoon, check it out. Thanks again for hosting and for the link.
And Chris, there you go. I ran it extra, so you had extra content, because he was saying he wants me to run the chat longer, so I ran it a little longer.
And by the way, X Adam 1, it's the PCC that I have is not a Smith & Wesson. It's not the knockoff of the Sub 2000. So I have not played with the Smith & Wesson folder, because it's just a knockoff of the Sub 2000, and then M&P 12 is just the KSG, so
For a bunch more money.
Yeah, for a lot more money.
So I appreciate everybody that was out there in the live chat, chatting her up, and those who might have been out there listening but didn't say anything. I appreciate you too. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out. I always read the comments, and they are always appreciated. And Carolina EDC reviews sneaking in here at the end. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the night. Wrong one.